On today's episode, we're going to be getting into the offset tool. So the offset tool is a way that we can actually offset certain surfaces, edges, to be able to make some pretty interesting geometry. We're going to obviously show you how to infer from that and some shortcuts that'll help you speed things along. So to begin, let's go ahead and take a look at our kind of really simple little house here. I have a window. And what I want to do is I want to create a sill or something along those lines that outlines this particular shape, so that way I can push and pull it into kind of 3D to make it look more like an actual window. So in this case, I could come in here and end up drawing things out and measuring stuff, but that does take a lot of time. So SketchUp actually includes a tool called the offset tool. And to be able to find it, we would find our push-pull tool, and right underneath that is our offset tool. So it's on the bottom here. Okay. And what this is going to end up doing is it's going to work on one surface at a time. And what I can end up doing is clicking once on the surface, and that'll allow me to draw an offset according to this. So I can get in here like so, and I can create an even offset all the way around this particular object. I can do the same thing with expanding outwards as well, but it can work on any shape. Does not necessarily need to be square or rectangular. Alright, and then I can obviously erase certain things, and we can get in here to the push-pull tool. You know, we can push that out, and I can push that in a little bit more, and you can have a little bit better window, if you will, than just simply your line drawing. It's kind of like the difference between drawing a stick figure and actually knowing how to draw an actual person. So that's by clicking on the surface will allow that to happen. Now if I go back into my offset tool, something to keep in mind is that sometimes it creates extra geometry that we don't want. For instance, here's a door. If I click on the surface of the door and I'm making something that expands out, you'll notice that I get extra geometry on the bottom. Now I could come in with the eraser tool and erase that, but is there a way to do that without needing to erase things? And the answer to that is yeah. All I have to do is pre-select the edges of what I want to offset, and come in here like that. Now I can click on the edges, and now I'm just simply clicking on and manipulating those. So I can kind of go in here pretty big like that, and we can create a door jamb that looks pretty cool when it's all said and done. Push that in a little bit more. There you go. So again, it's not just a simple standard 2D line that's representing something. I'm now adding detail to my drawing pretty quickly. Okay. Last thing I want to show you, another shortcut with the offset tool is the offset tool actually remembers the last offset that you made. So for instance, if I'm making a window here, and I've got to paint a window and I got 3 more to go, instead of attempting to try to remember what that was, I can just double click on it. So if I double click, it remembers that offset and it creates that for me. Again, we're trying to speed up that process, and I can push this out, and I can push this in. And again, the push-pull tool actually works the same way. I can double click on this, and it remembers my last pushing or pulling occurrence. And if I double click on it, it does the rest for me. So very fast way to be able to add some really quick detail on this object, like so. So our fun little house there. Now the last thing that we want to talk about is definitely going to end up being how we can infer other areas as well. So instead of double clicking on something, what if I want to move around an object? So I'm going to get out my polygon tool. I'm going to infer to the center edge of this cylinder. Okay, and we're going to go out, and let's go about that far. I'm going to push and pull this up. Whoops, come on now. There we go. And now again, I'm going to grab my offset tool, click on the surface, And oops, I'm going to actually I made a mistake on that. When we are inferring to other edges, we can do it around a corner, but we have to be very careful of how we select it. So for instance, if I come from the top down here, whoops, I'll select this surface. Let's see, I wonder if that's going to let me, yes, okay. Select that surface like so, rotate this edge, but now I'm going to want to obviously go from the top down. I can actually come over here around the corner and I can infer that, as you can see. Okay. And again, it's a, oops, that's not the surface I want. I can make that all the same size, even though I could technically double click on it, but this is just, again, manipulating how we can do things, because you might not always be able to double click things. Okay. Now, here's my last piece. As I was showing you, like when we were first doing this, if I come over here to the edge, right, I could still make my offset tool, right? But now if I want to try to infer that to this other side, it's not going to let me. So I have to be mindful of the orientation of where I begin my click if I want to infer things properly. So here I'm on the edge on the top. I'll click. Now I can go around the corner. So again, we can make this a little fancy. Whoops, that's not the tool I wanted. Push-pull tool. Push that out. Double click. Oh, didn't want me to do that. Okay. Got to be careful too with clicking on things. Maybe we want to go inside a little bit. The rhythm of how you click can make a difference. Because if you move your mouse at all while you're doing this, like I just did, I'm having problems with my mouse, it can readjust that for you. And again, Control Z is your friend. You can always undo things with that. So, offset tool, real quick way to just offset different surfaces or edges to be able to kind of add or subtract various things. We can use the select tool to be able to select specific edges when we're doing the offset tool instead of just an entire surface. And then we showed you obviously some shortcuts by double clicking and some tricks when you are inferring. So real quick, easy tool. Get out there, see if you guys can have a little bit of fun making a more detailed house than we did in the basic lessons with some windows and some doors. You know, get creative with it. This is for your use. So, all right, we'll catch you guys on the next episode.